4 years back, a friend handed me a handful of odd-looking rhizomes. He simply told me to get them into the ground, and since I had no real idea what they actually were, I tucked them into a neglected corner of my garden that wasn't being used for anything else. The soil there was nothing special. No fertilizer, no extra care, just plain earth. I planted them and then basically forgot they existed. I mean that literally. I forgot all about them. Rain was the only water they ever got. No compost, no feeding, nothing. The months rolled on. Then fall came around, and suddenly I remembered what I'd buried back there. I walked over to check, and what I found were massive plants, nearly 2 meters tall. I carefully dug around the base, and underneath sat thick roots roughly the size of a sweet potato. I rinsed them off, took a bite, and honestly couldn't believe it. The taste was like apple drizzled with honey, sweet, juicy, with a satisfying crunch. Right then, I realized why this plant deserves a spot in far more backyards. It's called yacon, and I'd say it might be the single easiest thing I've ever grown. What's strange is that yacon remains almost completely unheard of outside the Andean region. Communities in Peru and Bolivia have been eating it for generations. Yet across much of the rest of Latin America, it's still barely known. Which honestly baffles me because it delivers exactly what most of us want from a garden. It yields tons of food for barely any work, hardly attracts pests or disease, and doesn't demand heavy watering. You put it in the ground once, and from there, it basically looks after itself. Let me break down what yacon actually is. Botanically, it's known as Smolanthus sanctifolius, part of the Asteraceae family, making it a cousin, of sorts, to sunflowers and artichokes. Its roots trace back to the Andes, in zones sitting somewhere between 1,000 and 3,000 meters up. That's exactly why it thrives in so many places that never see brutal winters. The part you actually eat is the tuberous root. But here's something crucial to understand. The plant grows 2 distinct kinds of roots. There are the storage roots, the large ones resembling sweet potatoes, and then there are the rhizomes, which exist purely for propagating new plants. People mix these up constantly and end up biting into the rhizomes instead. Big mistake. Rhizomes taste awful, stringy, tough, completely unpleasant. The storage roots are the ones carrying that sweet, refreshing flavor. I learned this the hard way myself the very first time. The storage roots are the ones carrying that sweet, refreshing flavor. I learned this the hard way myself the very first time. I yanked everything up, washed it all, and tasted one nasty rhizome. And for a moment, I genuinely thought my friend had handed me a worthless plant. Then I came across a Peruvian grower online explaining that the edible roots are the separate, thicker ones dangling underneath. Those are the ones you want. Now, why should any of this matter to you? Start with the taste. It's sweet, genuinely sweet, but in an unusual way, nothing like table sugar. Imagine biting into something that blends apple, pear, and a gentle hint of melon. And the crunch is real, satisfyingly crisp. My favorite way to eat it is raw, peeled, sliced into sticks like you would a carrot, except sweet. My kids treat it like candy. Here's the interesting part though, that sweetness isn't coming from ordinary sugar at all. It's driven by compounds called fructooligosaccharides, or FOS. Fructose chains the body can't break down the way it processes regular sugar. They travel down to the large intestine where they feed beneficial gut bacteria. Essentially, yacon behaves like a natural prebiotic. That quality alone explains a lot of the attention yacon has gathered. It isn't just a tasty root. It carries a genuinely unique nutritional makeup. Researchers, particularly in Peru and Japan, have studied how it interacts with gut flora, blood sugar regulation, and dietary needs for people managing type 2 diabetes. I won't pretend it's some miracle cure, because it isn't, but it's a food with genuinely compelling properties, especially for anyone craving sweetness without the typical sugar crash. It's also surprisingly low in usable calories. A 200-gram root might land around 60 calories, while the equivalent weight in sweet potato packs in considerably more. And despite that, yacon still tastes indulgently sweet. Eating it almost feels like getting away with something. It satisfies, it fills you up, it's refreshing, and somehow still feels light. But what really shifted my perspective wasn't the flavor or the nutrition profile. It was how effortless this plant is to grow. Honestly, compare it to potatoes and yacon wins easily. Potatoes need constant watching for blight, fungus, and waterlogging. Yacon, on the other hand, is shockingly low maintenance. I planted mine, ignored it for months, and still pulled close to 15 kilos out of a tiny patch of ground. And that came with almost zero time invested. A plant you stick in the dirt and walk away from, only to come back at season's end to abundant food. For anyone growing their own at home, that's huge. Here's how planting actually works. You'll need rhizomes, the inedible part, which look a bit like ginger root, lumpy and dense with visible buds scattered across the surface. Those buds are what sprout into new growth. Plant them in spring once frost danger has fully passed. Dig a hole roughly 20 centimeters deep, set the rhizome inside, cover it back over with soil, and you're essentially finished. Decent soil needs little to no fertilizing. Poorer soil can use a modest amount of aged compost, but don't go overboard. Excess nitrogen pushes the plant toward leafy growth at the expense of root development. Moderation wins here. Spacing matters too. Give plants at least a meter of breathing room, though I personally favor 1.5 meters, since yacon sprawls impressively. It can shoot up between 1.8 and 2 meters tall, with broad, striking green foliage that honestly resembles an ornamental plant. Want a living green screen somewhere in your yard? Yacon handles that beautifully, with the bonus that you eventually get to eat it. If extreme heat starts wilting it, a watering session helps. But compared to tomatoes, cucumbers, or squash, its thirst is far more modest. I typically water once weekly during summer, and spring or fall rainfall usually covers the rest on its own. As for pests, my experience has been nearly trouble-free. Almost nothing bothers this plant. One season, I noticed a small aphid presence on young leaves early on, but it vanished without any intervention from me. No soap sprays, no insecticides, no homemade fixes, it just resolved itself. Maybe ladybugs or some other natural predator showed up to handle it. The bottom line is, I've never once needed to treat yacon with anything, chemical or organic. Once autumn rolls in, the plant starts transforming. Leaves yellow and droop, which is entirely normal, signaling that energy is now flowing down into the roots. Ideally, you wait for that first light frost, assuming your region gets one, or until the foliage above ground has fully died back. That's your cue to harvest. Begin by cutting the stalks at soil level. Then loosen the surrounding dirt gently, since the roots snap easily. I personally reach for a digging fork rather than a shovel. Work the soil loose around the plant until the whole root mass lifts free, revealing both parts at once. The rhizomes clustered near the stem base, and the larger tuberous roots hanging beneath. Set the rhizomes aside for next year's planting, and keep the roots for eating. That harvest moment never stops feeling rewarding, since the plant always gives back more than you'd expect. One more detail worth knowing. Many growers suggest letting the harvested roots sit out in sunlight or fresh air for a day or two, which sweetens them further. During that rest period, some of their internal compounds shift, deepening the flavor. I usually leave mine in a wooden crate somewhere well ventilated for a couple of days, then transfer them to a cool, dark storage spot. That said, I picked up a painful lesson along the way. Don't wash the entire harvest immediately if you intend to store it. Damp roots in storage tend to rot. My first year, I made exactly that mistake. Scrubbed the whole batch clean, packed it into boxes, and lost a significant chunk before long. Now I leave a thin layer of soil clinging to them and only rinse what I'm about to eat. Losses have been minimal ever since. Rhizomes need proper storage too. I keep mine in a slightly damp medium, like peat moss or sawdust, somewhere cool but frost-free. That keeps them viable right through to the following spring. And this matters because a single plant can yield a surprising number of rhizomes, sometimes 10 to 20 from just one. Plant one this year, and next year you could have a dozen or more, quickly producing far more yacon than any household could possibly eat through. On the subject of yields, a healthy, well-tended plant can produce somewhere between 5 and 10 kilos of edible root. It all hinges on soil quality, water, and climate conditions. For me, the average lands close to 7 kilos per plant. With just a handful of plants, a family can stock up on enough to last several months. So how do you actually eat it? Raw is, for me, the best route. Peel it, slice it into sticks, and if you like, drop the pieces into water with a splash of lemon juice to stop browning, since it oxidizes fast, much like an apple does. Prepared that way, it makes a fantastic snack or salad addition. It pairs beautifully with beets, walnuts, and goat cheese, a combination that somehow just works. The bright sweetness of the yacon, the earthiness of beet, and the salty bite of cheese coming together perfectly. Or roast it in the oven with a touch of oil and rosemary. There's a trade-off worth mentioning here, though. Cooking alters a portion of those fructooligosaccharides, meaning you lose some of that prebiotic benefit we talked about earlier. It's still delicious cooked, no doubt, but if the nutritional angle matters most to you, raw is the better choice. If flavor alone is your priority, cook it however you please. If flavor alone is your priority, cook it however you please. You can also turn it into syrup. Andean tradition involves boiling the roots, drawing out the liquid, then reducing it down into a thick sweetener similar to mild honey. I tried this once myself, interesting result, but a real time investment. I'd rather just eat the root fresh and skip that whole process. Juicing is another option, blending the raw roots into a sweet, light, refreshing drink. I like pairing it with apple and carrot. Comes out wonderfully, and I know I'm serving something completely natural with zero added sugar. One important caution here. If you've never tried yacon before, ease into it with a small portion since it's loaded with fructooligosaccharides, which can trigger gas or bloating if your gut isn't accustomed to them. Start small, around 50 grams, then build up gradually. My first encounter with it, I got so carried away by the flavor that I overdid it and learned that lesson the very same night. Which brings up the obvious question. If it's this good, why isn't everyone growing it? Without awareness, there's no demand. And without demand, large-scale production never takes off. Second, the roots are fragile. They bruise easily in transit, nothing like potatoes, which handle shipping and handling far more gracefully. Yacon needs gentler treatment, complicating any large distribution effort. Third, it doesn't store as long as other root vegetables. It'll hold for several months, sure, but not nearly as long or as easily as a properly stored potato. For big commercial operations, that's a real drawback. For home gardeners, though, it barely matters. You harvest it, store it yourself, and work through it gradually. For personal use, it's nearly flawless. That's exactly why I view it as an ideal addition for anyone wanting to squeeze more value from their garden without overcomplicating things. It uses minimal space relative to its output, asks for very little upkeep, and delivers something genuinely different from what you'll find at most grocery stores. To me, that's one of the real rewards of growing your own food. Not just the money saved, but gaining access to flavors, varieties, and experiences you wouldn't otherwise come across. If there's an empty patch in your garden and you're stuck on what to plant there, give yacon a shot. Tuck in 4 or 5 rhizomes, let nature take its course, and wait for autumn to arrive. There's a strong chance the harvest will catch you off guard. One last piece of advice before wrapping up. When harvest time comes, always set aside more rhizomes than you think you'll actually need. My first year, I kept just a few, assuming that would be plenty, and ended up losing several during storage. Ever since, I keep a generous surplus. The extras I give away, and honestly I enjoy doing that, since it helps spread this plant little by little to more people. Yacon truly deserves wider recognition. It makes no sense that something this easy to grow, this productive, and this enjoyable to eat remains a near total mystery to so many. If exploring overlooked crops, uncommon foods, and simple ways to grow more with less effort appeals to you, subscribe to Primal Life and join us for what's coming next.